A darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. But today, something moved through that darkness. Something big. Something that had never been seen before in this part of the galaxy. 847. Ships glided through the void like giant sea creatures. They were not made of metal or stone. They were alive. Their hulls pulsed with soft blue light that moved like waves across their surfaces. These were the ships of the Zephyrian Armada, and they had come to conquer another world. Admiral Clickstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Tide. His tall, thin body swayed gently as he watched the star ahead grow brighter. His 4 eyes, each the size of a human fist, blinked slowly as he studied the yellow sun that the locals called Sol. "Admiral," said Commander Vexhai, his voice like the sound of wind through leaves. "We are now 3 days from the target system. Our scouts report the third planet is full of life." Clickstar nodded. His long fingers touched the living wall of his ship, and he felt its heartbeat. The ship whispered to him in his mind, telling him it was ready for battle. All around him, the other ships in the fleet sang the same song. They were hungry for victory. "What do we know about these creatures?" Clickstar asked. Vexhai's skin changed color from green to yellow, showing he was excited. "They call themselves humans, Admiral. We have been watching their radio signals for 50 of their years. They are very primitive. They still use crude machines made of metal. Their ships burn chemical fuel like ancient rockets." The Admiral's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. Another easy conquest. How many worlds is that now?" 17, Admiral. 17 worlds have fallen to the Zephyrian way. Soon it will be 18. Far ahead, in the Sol system, a different kind of ship moved through space. The USS Defiant was not alive like the Zephyrian vessels. It was built from steel and titanium, shaped like a giant metal brick, with guns sticking out of every surface. It was not beautiful or graceful. It was designed for one purpose: to fight. Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of his ship. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. He had fought in the Mars Colony Wars, and he knew what real combat looked like. "Captain," said Amy Patterson, the chief engineer. She was a small woman with grease stains on her uniform. "All systems are running at full power. The fusion reactors are stable, and the weapons are ready." Morrison nodded. "Good. Pete, what's the status on those strange signals we've been picking up?" Pete Williams, the communications officer, looked up from his station. He was young, maybe 25, with nervous eyes. "Sir, we're still getting those weird transmissions from the edge of the system. They're not like anything we've seen before. The computers can't make sense of them." Dr. Lisa Carter, the science officer, spoke up. "Captain, I've been studying those signals. They're not random. There's a pattern to them, like music, but it's not human music." Morrison felt a cold chill run down his back. In all his years of fighting, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now, those instincts were telling him that something very dangerous was coming. "How long until we can see what's making those signals?" he asked. "If they keep moving ahead." "Their current speed, about 6 hours," said Ben Taylor, the navigator. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless asked a direct question. Morrison turned to look at the main screen. It showed the dark space ahead of them, empty except for distant stars. But he knew that emptiness was about to be filled with something. That would change everything. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Clickstar was receiving reports from his scout ships. The news was exactly what he had expected. "The humans have only one ship in the outer system," reported a scout captain. "It is large but crude, made of metal like a primitive tool. It moves slowly and sends out radio waves like a child crying for attention. Clickstar felt pleased. One ship? That is all? What about their defenses? There are some smaller ships, near their home planet, but they are even more primitive. Admiral, this will be the easiest conquest we have ever made. The Admiral's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Excellent. We will show them our power first. One demonstration should be enough to make them surrender. Then we can begin the harvest. The Zephyrian ships began to change formation. They spread, out like the petals of a flower, each ship's living hull glowing brighter as they prepared for battle. Their weapons, beams of pure energy that could melt mountains, began to charge. On the Defiant, alarms started to sound. "Captain!" shouted Lieutenant San Rodriguez from the tactical station. "I'm reading multiple contacts on the edge of sensor range. They're big, sir, really big. And there are hundreds of them." Morrison felt his heart start to beat faster. "Red? Alert! Battle stations! All hands! This is not a drill." The lights on the bridge changed from white to red. Throughout the ship, men and women ran to their positions. In the weapons bays, the massive railguns began to turn toward the enemy. In engineering, Amy Patterson pushed the fusion reactors to higher power. "Pete, try to send a message to those ships," Morrison ordered. "Tell them this is Captain Morrison of the USS Defiant. We come in peace and want to talk." William's fingers flew over his controls. "Sending message now, sir. Using all frequencies." Message traveled through space at the speed of light. It reached the Zephyrian fleet in seconds. Admiral Clickstar listened to the strange human sounds and laughed. "They want to talk?" he said. "How amusing. Very well. We will talk to them. But first, we will show them what happens to those who stand in the way of the Zephyrian Empire." He turned to his weapons officer. "Fire one warning shot at their ship. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to show them our power. Aim for their front section." The weapon charged with a sound like singing. Then a beam of pure energy shot across space toward the human ship. On the Defiant, Dr. Karen Hughes was checking the medical bay when the ship shook violently. She grabbed onto a table to keep from falling. "What was that?" she asked. Got the answer. Came over the ship's communication system. It was Morrison's voice, calm but deadly serious. "All hands, we are under attack. Unknown alien vessels have fired on us. This is now a combat situation. All crew to battle stations. We are at war." The first shot of the battle had been fired. Neither side knew it yet, but this moment would change the galaxy forever. The Zephyrians expected an easy victory. The humans were ready to fight for their lives. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The energy beam from the Zephyrian ship hit the Defiant like a hammer blow from the gods. The front shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the impact. The entire ship shook, and sparks flew from control panels across the bridge. Captain Morrison grabbed his chair to stay standing. He had been hit by enemy fire many times before, but this was different. This was more powerful than anything he had ever faced. "Damage report." He shouted over the noise of alarms. Amy Patterson's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "Forward shields down to 60%, Captain. But they held. Hull is intact. No casualties." Morrison felt a moment of relief. The shields had worked. The scientists on Earth had built them well. But he knew the aliens would not stop with just one shot. "Pete, did they respond to our message?" he asked. Williams shook his head. "No, sir. They're not answering. But I am picking up a lot of chatter on their frequencies. The computer is trying to translate it." On the main screen, the alien ships were now visible. They looked like nothing Morrison had ever seen. They were smooth and curved, glowing with soft light. They moved through space like living things, not machines. "My God," whispered Dr. Lisa Carter. "They're beautiful. beautiful things can still kill you, Morrison replied grimly. Sam, target the ship that fired on us. Load one railgun with a standard tungsten round. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked surprised. Sir, just one round? We have hundreds of them ready to fire. One round, Lieutenant. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have used more power. That was a warning shot. So I'm going to give them a warning shot back. Rodriguez's fingers moved over his controls. Deep in the ship, one of the massive railguns turned toward the alien vessel. The weapon was a marvel of human engineering. It used magnetic fields to accelerate a small piece of metal to incredible speeds. Target locked, sir, Rodriguez reported. Railgun 1 is ready to fire. Morrison took a deep breath. He knew that what happened next would determine whether humanity lived or died. Fire. The railgun fired with a sound like thunder. The tungsten projectile, no bigger than a bullet, shot out of the ship at 15% the speed of light. It crossed the space between the ships in less than a second. The alien vessel never saw it coming. The projectile hit the Zephyrian ship and punched through its living hull like a needle through paper. The organic material tried to heal itself, but the damage was too severe. The ship's biosystems began to fail. Admiral Clickstar felt the death scream of his scout ship through the psychic link all Zephyrians shared. The pain hit him like a physical blow. He staggered and fell to his knees. Admiral! Commander Vexhai rushed to help him. What happened? What was that? Clickstar struggled to stand. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. The ship. It's dying. I felt it die. But how? What kind of weapon was that? On the bridge of the dying ship, Captain Nordic watched his crew panic. Green fluid leaked from the walls. The ship's heart was beating irregularly. The beautiful living vessel was in its death throes. Captain, his weapons officer said, what hit us? Our sensors show no energy signature, no plasma beam, no quantum torpedo, nothing. Mordek looked at the small hole in his ship's hull. It was perfectly round, barely visible. But through that tiny hole, his ship was bleeding to death. I don't. No, he whispered. I've never seen anything like it. On the Defiant, Dr. Carter was studying the alien ship through her sensors. Captain, their ship is failing. Whatever we hit them with, it's causing massive internal damage. Their technology appears to be biological, not mechanical. Morrison nodded. That explains why they look so strange. They grow their ships instead of building them. He turned to Rodriguez. Sam, what's the status on that projectile? It passed clean through their ship, sir. Didn't even slow down. It's probably halfway to the next star system by now. The captain allowed himself a small smile. The railgun had worked perfectly. The aliens had expected energy weapons, shields, and fancy technology. Instead, they got a chunk of metal moving at incredible speed. Sometimes the simple solutions were the best. Sir, Williams called out, I'm getting a lot of activity from the alien fleet. They're moving into what looks like an attack formation. Morrison watched the alien ships spread out on the screen. They moved like a school of fish, flowing around, each other in perfect coordination. It was beautiful to watch, but he knew it meant trouble. Amy, how are those engines holding up? He asked. Running at full power, Captain. But if we're going to fight, I recommend we don't run away. This ship was built for battle, not for running, Morrison smiled. Amy was right. The Defiant was not fast or graceful like the alien ships, but it was strong. It was built to take punishment and keep fighting. All hands, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's communication system. We have made contact with an alien species. They fired on us first, and we fired back. One of their ships has been damaged. I believe they are going to attack us with their full force. He paused, looking around at his crew. These were good people. They had trained for this moment their whole lives, even though they never expected it to actually happen. "We are outnumbered," he continued, "but we are not outgunned. This ship represents the best of human engineering. We have weapons and defenses that no alien has ever seen before. We will show them what happens when you attack Earth." Across the ship, the crew cheered. In the weapons bays, the gun crews loaded more rounds. In the engine room, Amy pushed the fusion reactors to higher power. In the medical bay, Dr. Hughes prepared for casualties. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Admiral Clickstar was trying to understand what had happened. His most advanced scouts had studied the human ship for hours. They had reported it was primitive and weak. How did they destroy our ship so easily? He asked his science officer. "Admiral, I'm not sure they used a weapon at all. Our sensors detected no energy discharge, no plasma beam, no gravity pulse, nothing." Clickstar's skin changed to a dark purple, showing his anger. "Ships don't just die by themselves. They used some kind of weapon. Find out what it was." "Yes, Admiral." "But, sir, what should we do now? The humans have shown they can fight back." The Admiral's 4 eyes narrowed. "Then we will show them the true power of the Zephyrian Empire. Signal all ships. Attack formation. We will crush them with our numbers." The alien fleet began to move. 846 ships, each one beautiful and deadly, turned toward the lone human vessel. Their hulls glowed brighter as they prepared their weapons. On the Defiant, the crew watched them come. "Well," said Morrison quietly, "I guess talking is over." "Sir," said Rodriguez, "I count 846 enemy ships. We have 1 ship." Morrison looked at the odds and shrugged. "Then it's a fair fight. They've got numbers, but we've got something they don't." "What's that, sir?" asked Williams. "We're human," Morrison replied. "And humans don't know how to quit." The space between the two forces began to shrink. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons charging. The human ship moved to meet them, its guns turning toward the enemy. Neither side fully understood what was about to happen. The aliens expected another easy victory. The humans were ready to fight like their lives depended on it, because they did. The alien ships came at the Defiant like a storm of living lightning. They moved in a spiral pattern, each ship flowing around the others in perfect harmony. Their hulls pulsed with energy as they prepared to fire. Admiral Clickstar watched from his flagship as his fleet took battle formation. This was the Zephyrian way. Beautiful, graceful, deadly. They had used this same formation to conquer 17 different worlds. "All ships, prepare to fire," he commanded. "Show these primitives the power of evolved warfare." The alien ships began to glow brighter. Energy flowed between them like electricity, jumping from one conductor to another. They were sharing power, creating a weapon more powerful than any single ship could make. On the Defiant, Captain Morrison watched the enemy formation with growing concern. He had never seen anything like it. The aliens were turning themselves into one giant weapon. "Sam, what are you reading on their energy levels?" he asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez checked his instruments. "Sir, they're off the charts. Whatever they're about to do, it's going to be big." Morrison nodded. "All hands brace for impact. This is going to hurt." The alien fleet fired as one. A massive beam of pure energy shot across space toward the human ship. It was beautiful and terrible, like a lightning bolt thrown by an angry god. The beam hit the Defiant's shields with incredible force. The entire ship shook like a toy in the hands of a giant. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights flickered. The smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Shields down to 30%. Amy called out from the engine room. "Hull breaches on decks 5 and 7. Morrison felt the ship grown under the impact, but it held together. The human engineers had built the Defiant to survive anything, and so far, it was living up to that promise. "Damage control teams to decks 5 and 7, he ordered. "Pete, how are our communications?" "Still working, sir. But the aliens are jamming most frequencies." Morrison turned to his weapons officer. "Sam, I want you to target as many of their ships as possible. Load all railguns with tungsten rounds. It's time to show them what human weapons can do." "Yes, sir." "All guns loaded and ready. Fire at will." The Defiant's railguns opened fire. 12 massive weapons sent their projectiles streaking across space at incredible speeds. The tungsten rounds were invisible to the naked eye, but their effects were not. The first projectile hit an alien ship near the center of their formation. It punched through the living hull and out the other side, leaving a perfectly round hole. The ship's biosystems tried to repair the damage, but it was too severe. The vessel began to drift, its lights fading. The second round hit another ship, then a third, then a fourth. Each hit was a kill. The alien ships had no defense against solid projectiles moving at such high speeds. "Admiral," Clickstar felt each death through the psychic link. The pain was overwhelming. His ships were dying, and he could feel every moment of their agony. "What kind of weapons are those?" He screamed at his science officer. I don't know, Admiral. They're not using energy at all. They're throwing pieces of metal at us." "Metal? Metal can't hurt our ships." "Sir, metal moving at 15% light speed apparently can." The human ship continued to fire. Its weapons were not as elegant as the Zephyrian energy beams, but they were devastatingly effective. Each shot was a kill. No shields could stop them. No armor could deflect them. "Return fire. All ships return fire," Clickstar ordered, the alien. Fleet responded. Hundreds of energy beams shot toward the Defiant. The human ship disappeared in a ball of fire and light. Surely nothing could survive such an attack. But when the light faded, the Defiant was still there. Its shields were down, and its hull was scorched and blackened, but it was still fighting. "Impossible," whispered Commander Vex-High. "No ship can survive that much firepower." On the Defiant, the crew was working frantically to keep their ship alive. The shields were gone, but the thick armor was holding. Damage control teams ran through the corridors, sealing hull breaches and putting out fires. "Amy, I need more power to the weapons," Morrison shouted. "I'm giving you everything I've got, Captain. The fusion reactors are running at 110%. Dr. Hughes was treating wounded crew members in the medical bay. I need more." "Supplies," she called out. "We're running out of burn medication." The ship shook again as more alien weapons hit the hull, but the Defiant kept fighting. Its railguns continued to fire, and alien ships continued to die. Alex Turner, the chief weapons officer, was coordinating the gun crews from the Weapons Control Center. "Gun Crew 3, target the big ship on the left. Gun Crew 7, hit the cluster of small ships." The battle was not going the way the aliens had expected. They had thought this would be easy. One demonstration of power, and the humans would surrender. Instead, they found themselves in the fight of their lives. "Admiral," said the fleet tactical officer, "we've lost 47 ships. The humans are not fighting like any species we've encountered before." Clickstar's 4 eyes burned with rage. "They're savages. They don't follow the rules of civilized warfare." "Sir, what rules?" "We're trying to conquer them. But there are proper ways to fight. They should use energy weapons. They should have shields and graceful ships. They should not throw rocks at us." The truth was, the Zephyrians had never fought anyone like humans before. Every other species they had conquered fought in predictable ways. They used energy weapons against energy shields. They maneuvered gracefully through space. They followed the unwritten rules of galactic warfare. Humans didn't know those rules. And they wouldn't have followed them anyway. "Sir," said the communications officer, "the humans are sending another message." "What do they say?" "They're asking if we want to surrender." Clickstar felt his blood boil. "They're asking if we want to surrender? They have one ship. We have 800. Well, sir, we had 800. Now we have 753. The admiral looked at the tactical display. The human ship was surrounded by the wreckage of his vessels. It was damaged and outnumbered, but it was still fighting. And it was still killing his ships. "All ships close to melee range," he ordered. "We'll crush them with our numbers." The alien fleet began to move closer. They abandoned their elegant formations and swarmed toward the human ship like angry insects. Morrison watched them come. "They're getting desperate," he said. "Good. Desperate enemies make mistakes." "Sir, they're surrounding us," reported Ben. "Taylor, we're going to be trapped. Then we'll fight our way out. Amy, how are those engines?" "Ready when you are, Captain." Morrison smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "All hands, prepare for ramming speed. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you corner a human." The Defiant's engines roared to life. The massive ship began to accelerate toward the alien fleet. Its guns continued to fire, clearing a path through the enemy vessels. Roy Phillips, a maintenance technician, was working on a damaged power conduit when the ship suddenly accelerated. He grabbed onto a pipe to keep from falling. "What the hell is the captain doing?" He muttered. The answer came over the ship's communication system. It was Morrison's voice, calm and deadly. "All hands, we are going to ram the enemy flagship. Brace for impact." The Defiant, all 800,000 tons of it, charged toward the alien command ship like a metal comet. Its railguns fired continuously, destroying everything in its path. Admiral Clickstar watched the human ship approach and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Pure, raw terror. "They're insane," he whispered. "They're going to ram us. They're going to kill themselves just to kill us." Commander Vex High was backing away from the main screen. "Admiral, we have to move. We have to get out of the way." "No," Clickstar said. Quietly. "No, we don't. Look at them. Look at what they're doing. They're not trying to win. They're trying to hurt us as much as possible before they die." The Admiral finally understood what they were facing. These weren't just another species to be conquered. These were something new, something terrifying. These were humans. And humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves. The distance between the ships continued to shrink. The human vessel came on like an avalanche, unstoppable and deadly. Its guns never stopped firing. Its engines never slowed. The battle was about to reach its climax. And neither side was prepared for what would happen next. The Defiant raced toward the alien flagship like a bullet fired from the gun of an angry god. Its engines blazed with the fury of a star, pushing the massive ship faster than it had ever gone before. Admiral Clickstar watched the human vessel approach and felt his courage crumble. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. The humans were willing to destroy themselves just to hurt their enemies. "All ships, protect the flagship," he commanded. "Form a defensive sphere around us." The remaining alien vessels moved to obey. They surrounded the flagship in layers, creating a wall of living ships. There were still over 700 vessels left. Surely that would be enough to stop one crazy human ship. On the Defiant, Captain Morrison watched the aliens form their defense. He had hoped to catch them off guard, but they were adapting quickly. The ramming attack was not going to work. "Amy, cut the engines," he ordered. "We need to try something else." "Thank God," muttered Dr. Hughes from the medical bay. I thought we were all going to die. Morrison turned to his science officer. Lisa, what do you know about that experimental weapon the scientists gave us? Dr. Carter looked nervous. You mean the quantum torpedo? Captain, we've never tested it in combat. We don't even know if it works. What's it supposed to do? It creates a small hole in space-time. Anything caught in the hole just ... disappears. But sir, the calculations show it could be dangerous to us too. Morrison nodded grimly. Everything's dangerous right now. How long to charge it? About 10 minutes, sir. But Captain, if something goes wrong, then we'll deal with it. Amy, divert all power to the quantum torpedo system. Everything except life support and basic engines. Yes, sir, came Amy's voice from the engine room. But that means our shields will be down and our regular weapons will be offline. I know. We'll just have to hope the aliens don't figure that out. The Defiant slowed its attack and began to drift. To the aliens, it looked like the human ship was badly damaged. Steam vented from holes in its hull. Its lights flickered. Its weapons stopped firing. Admiral, said Commander Vex-High, the human ship appears to be disabled. Clickstar studied the tactical display. The human vessel was dead in space, surrounded by his fleet. Good. Now we can capture it and study their technology. Sir, should we board it? Not yet. I want to know what other surprises they might have. Send a probe ship to examine it. On the Defiant, Pete Williams was monitoring alien communications. Captain, they're sending a small ship to look at us. I think they believe we're disabled. Perfect. That's exactly what we want them to think. Dr. Carter was working frantically on the quantum torpedo controls. Captain, the weapon is charging. But there's a problem. The targeting system wasn't designed for combat. It's meant for scientific experiments. What does that mean? It means I have to aim it manually, and I'll only get one shot. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were arranged in a perfect sphere around his vessel. If the quantum torpedo worked, it could destroy dozens of them at once. If it didn't work ... double quotes, how much longer? He asked. 5 minutes, sir. The alien probe ship approached the Defiant carefully. It was small and sleek, designed for reconnaissance. Its pilot was nervous as he scanned the human vessel. Command, this is Probe 7, he reported. The human ship appears to be heavily damaged. I'm reading massive power fluctuations in their engine room. Good, replied Admiral Clickstar. What about weapons? All weapons appear to be offline. They're venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. I don't think they're going anywhere. Clickstar felt satisfied. Excellent. All ships, tighten the formation. I want them surrounded so closely they can't move. The alien fleet began to close in. Hundreds of bioships moved like a living net, drawing tighter around the human vessel. They were so close now that their hulls almost touched. Captain, whispered Rodriguez, if they get any closer, we won't be able to maneuver at all. That's the idea, Morrison replied. Lisa, how's that torpedo coming? 2 minutes, sir. The quantum field is almost stable. In the engine room, Amy was pushing the fusion reactors beyond their safety limits. Come on, you beautiful machines, she muttered. Just hold together a little longer. Roy Phillips was helping her monitor the power systems. Amy, the containment field is fluctuating. If it fails ... it won't fail. I won't let it fail. The alien ships continued to close in. They were now so close that the Defiant's crew could see the details of their living hulls. The bioships pulsed with soft light and strange patterns, moved across their surfaces. My God, said Dr. Hughes, looking out a porthole. They're so close I could almost touch them. Don't, warned Morrison. We don't know what those hulls are made of. 1 minute, Captain, reported Dr. Carter. The quantum field is stabilizing. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. They had been through hell in the past few hours, but they were still fighting, still human. All hands, prepare for quantum torpedo launch, he announced. This is going to be unlike anything we've ever done before. The weapon charged, with a sound like music, but it was not beautiful music. It was the sound of reality being torn apart. Ready, Captain, said Dr. Carter. Morrison studied the tactical display one more time. The alien ships were packed around his vessel like fish in a net. The quantum torpedo would hit them all at once. Fire. The quantum torpedo launched with a flash of light that hurt to look at. It didn't move like a normal weapon. It simply appeared in the middle of the alien formation and exploded, but it wasn't a normal explosion. It was a hole in space itself, a wound in reality that sucked in everything around it. 50 alien ships vanished in an instant. They didn't burn or break apart. They simply ceased to exist, pulled into the quantum void. The remaining ships were thrown backward by the gravitational distortion. Admiral Clickstar felt 50 deaths at once through the psychic link. The pain was so intense he fell to the deck, screaming. All around him, his crew was doing the same. Admiral! Commander Vex High crawled toward him. What happened? Where did those ships go? They're gone, Clickstar gasped. They're just gone. What kind of weapon destroys space itself? On the Defiant, the crew watched in amazement as the quantum torpedo did its work. The hole in space lasted for only a few seconds, but in that time, it consumed 50 enemy vessels. Did we just do that? Asked Williams. We did, Morrison replied, and it worked better than we hoped. Dr. Carter was studying her instruments. Captain, the quantum field is collapsing. We won't be able to fire another torpedo for at least an hour. That's okay. I think we got their attention. The alien fleet was in chaos. Ships were fleeing in all directions, their formation completely broken. The elegant spiral pattern was gone, replaced by panic and confusion. Admiral, said the fleet tactical officer, we've lost 57 ships now. The humans have weapons. We don't understand. Clickstar struggled to his feet. His 4 eyes were wide with terror. Signal the fleet. Fall back to minimum safe distance. We need to reassess our strategy. Sir, are we retreating? We're regrouping. There's a difference. But as the alien ships pulled back, Morrison wasn't finished. Ben, take us toward that asteroid field. We're going to play hide and seek. Sir, that's dangerous. Those asteroids could damage our hull. The asteroids are the least of our problems. Right now. Amy, how are those engines? Still running, Captain. But we're down to emergency power for everything else. The Defiant began to move toward the nearby asteroid field. The massive rocks provided cover from the alien sensors. But they also provided something else. Weapons. Sam, load the mining charges. Morrison ordered. Rodriguez looked confused. Sir, mining charges aren't weapons. They are now. We're going to turn those asteroids into the biggest shotgun blast in history. The human ship disappeared into the asteroid field, leaving the alien fleet to wonder what other surprises these terrible creatures might have in store for them. The battle was far from over, but now the aliens knew they were facing something truly dangerous, something that fought without rules or mercy, something human. The asteroid field was a maze of floating rocks, some as small as houses and others as big as cities. The Defiant moved through them like a shark hunting in dark water. Its hull scraped against the smaller asteroids, but the thick armor held Captain. Morrison stood on his bridge, studying the tactical display. The alien ships were staying at the edge of the asteroid field, afraid to follow him in. Good. That meant his plan was working. "Amy, what's the status on those mining charges?" he asked. "All loaded and ready, Captain," came her voice from the engine room. "But I have to warn you, using them like this is really dangerous. We could blow ourselves up. Everything we've done today has been dangerous. One more risk won't kill us." Dr. Carter was monitoring the alien fleet from her science station. "Captain, they're moving into a new formation. It looks like they're going to try to surround the asteroid field." Morrison nodded. "They're learning. But we're not done teaching them lessons yet." The alien ships spread out in a wide circle around the asteroid field. Admiral Clickstar was trying a new strategy. If he couldn't follow the humans into the rocks, he would wait for them to come out. "All ships maintain position," he ordered. "The humans can't hide in there forever. When they emerge, we'll be ready." Commander Vex High looked at the tactical display. "Admiral, we still outnumber them 700 to 1. Why don't we just send in a few ships to flush them out?" "Because I've learned something about these creatures," Clickstar replied. "They don't think like us. They don't fight like us. Every time we think we understand them, they do something impossible." Deep in the asteroid field, the Defiant was preparing its next surprise. Morrison had positioned his ship behind a massive asteroid, one that was nearly a mile across. "Sam, attach the mining charges to that big rock," he ordered. "Set them for remote detonation." Rodriguez looked confused. "Sir, what good will that do? It's just one asteroid." "You'll see. Trust me." The crew worked quickly to attach the explosive charges to the asteroid. The mining charges were designed to break up rocks for easier collection, but Morrison had a different use in mind. "Charges set, Captain," reported Alex Turner from the weapons bay. "Ready to detonate on your command." "Good. Now, Ben, plot a course that will take us out of the asteroid field right past the alien flagship." Navigator Taylor studied his charts. "Sir, that will put us in the middle of their formation. We'll be surrounded again. That's the idea. Amy, I need everything you can give me from the engines. We're going to move fast." The Defiant's engines roared to life. The ship shot out of the asteroid field like a bullet, heading straight for the alien fleet. The sudden appearance caught the aliens by surprise. "There they are," shouted the alien sensor operator. "The human ship is leaving the asteroid field." Admiral Clickstar felt a moment of satisfaction. "All ships, attack formation. Don't let them escape this time." The alien fleet moved to intercept the human ship. Hundreds of biovessels converged on the Defiant, their weapons charging. This time, they would not underestimate their enemy. But Morrison wasn't trying to escape. As the alien ships closed in around him, he gave the order he had been waiting to give. "Detonate the charges." The mining charges exploded all at once. The massive asteroid shattered into millions of pieces, each one moving at incredible speed. The explosion turned the rock into a shotgun blast that spread across space like a deadly cloud. The alien ships that had been chasing the Helme Defiant suddenly found themselves in the path of a million flying rocks. The chunks of stone hit their bioships like bullets, punching holes in their living hulls. "What's happening?" screamed Admiral Clickstar as his ship shook from multiple impacts. "The asteroid exploded, sir," reported his tactical officer. "The humans turned it into a weapon. 50 more alien ships were destroyed or damaged by the asteroid fragments. The elegant biovessels were not designed to withstand solid impacts. Their beautiful, flowing hulls were torn apart by simple rocks moving at high speed." Morrison watched the destruction with grim satisfaction. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," he said. "Pete, send a message to the alien fleet." "What should I say, Captain?" "Tell them this is their last chance to surrender. If they don't leave our solar system right now, we'll destroy them all." The message was sent on all frequencies. Within minutes, A reply came back. It was Admiral Clickstar himself, and his voice was shaking with rage and fear. Human captain, you fight without honor. You use crude weapons and dirty tricks. You are savages. Morrison picked up the communication device. Admiral, you came to our home to conquer us. You fired first. You brought 700 ships to attack one. And you're calling us dishonorable? We fight according to the rules of civilized warfare. Your rules, not ours. We fight to win. We fight to protect our families and our world. If that makes us savages, then we're proud to be savages. There was a long silence. Then Clickstar spoke again, his voice quieter now. What are you? Morrison thought about the question. We're human. We come from a planet that's been trying to kill us since the day we crawled out of the oceans. We've fought ice ages and plagues, and wars and disasters. We've survived everything our world could throw at us, and now we've survived you. The Defiant was moving through the wreckage of the alien ships. Its guns were still ready to fire. Its crew was still at battle stations. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the human ship was still fighting. Dr. Hughes was treating the wounded. In the medical bay, how many casualties do we have? Morrison asked over the communication system. 15 injured, Captain. No deaths. We've been lucky. It's not luck, Doctor. It's good design and better crew. In the engine room, Amy was nursing the overworked fusion reactors. Captain, we're running on fumes down here. We can't take much more punishment. How much more fight do we have left in us? Maybe one more battle, sir. Maybe. Morrison looked at the alien fleet. They had pulled back again, but they were still there, still a threat, still outnumbering his single ship by more than 600 to 1. All hands, this is the captain, he announced. We've hurt them badly, but they're not finished yet. Neither are we. We have one more trick to play. He turned to his navigator. Ben, plot a ramming course for the alien flagship. Full speed. Sir? Are you sure about this? I'm sure. If we're going down, we're taking their leader with us. The Defiant's engines flared to maximum power. The ship began to accelerate toward the alien command vessel. This time, Morrison wasn't bluffing. This time, he really intended to ram them. Admiral Clickstar watched the human ship approach and felt his courage finally break. He had seen what these creatures were capable of. They would really do it. They would destroy themselves just to kill. Him. All ships, emergency retreat, he ordered. Jump to hyperspace, now. But Admiral, we still outnumber them. It doesn't matter. Don't you understand? These humans are insane. They'll keep fighting until every last one of them is dead, and they'll take as many of us with them as they can. The alien fleet began to flee. One by one, the bioships activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into hyperspace. Within minutes, the space around Earth was empty except for floating wreckage. Morrison ordered his ship to stop its attack run. He stood on his bridge, watching the last of the alien ships disappear. They're gone, said Williams quietly. Yes, they are. Do you think they'll come back? Morrison thought about it. Maybe, but if they do, they'll bring a bigger fleet. And they'll be ready for our tricks. Dr. Carter was studying the sensor readings. Captain, I'm detecting several alien escape pods in the wreckage. Should we rescue them? Yes. Bring them aboard. Maybe we can learn something from them. The Defiant limped back toward Earth, its hull scarred and blackened from battle. The ship had taken a beating, but it had survived. More than that, it had one dot as they approached their home planet. Morrison received a message from Earth Command. Defiant, this is Admiral Parker. What's your status? We've made contact with an alien species, sir. They attacked us. We fought. Back, they retreated. How many enemy ships? About 800, sir. There was a long pause. 800? How many ships did we lose? None, sir. We did it with just the Defiant. Another pause, even longer this time. Captain Morrison, when you get back to Earth, you and your crew are going to have a lot of explaining to do. Morrison smiled. Yes, sir. We're looking forward to it. As the Defiant headed home, its crew began to realize what they had accomplished. They had faced an alien armada with overwhelming numbers and superior technology. They had been outgunned, outnumbered, and surrounded, and they had won. Not through superior firepower or better ships, but through something the aliens couldn't understand. Human determination, human ingenuity, the refusal to give up no matter how bad things looked. Roy Phillips was helping repair the damage to the ship's hull. Do you think we'll see them again? He asked Amy. Probably. But next time, they'll know what they're dealing with. What's that? Amy looked out at the stars, where the alien fleet had disappeared. Humans. And humans don't know how to quit. The news of the battle spread across human space within days. The story of the single ship that fought off an alien armada became legend. Children would grow up hearing about Captain Morrison and the crew of the Defiant. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new. There was a species called Humani.
The message came on a Tuesday morning, a string of pulses from deep space that made the computers at NASA's Nevada facility light up like Christmas trees. Dr. Frank Miller had been working the night shift, his eyes tired from staring at screens, for 10 hours straight. He was about to leave when the first signal hit. "Hey, check this out," said his colleague, pointing at the screen. Frank walked over, coffee cup in hand. What he saw made him stop in his tracks. The signal pattern wasn't random. It had structure, rhythm, mathematical logic. "Run the sequence again," Frank said, setting down his coffee. "And call Director Allen." Within 3 hours, the facility was buzzing with activity. Scientists huddled around screens, arguing over the data. The signal continued to come in, steady and unchanging. A pattern of prime numbers followed by what appeared to be a mathematical representation of basic elements. Hydrogen, helium, carbon. "It's them," Frank said quietly to Director Allen as they stood in the back of the room. "It's really them." "We don't know that yet," Allen replied, but his voice lacked conviction. The government response was swift. By nightfall, armed guards surrounded the facility. Men in dark suits arrived in black SUVs. Among them was a woman in a crisp military uniform, Commander Lisa Wright of the United Earth Space Force. Lisa had been expecting this call for years. The UESF had been created after the world wars of the 2130s United Earth under a single military command. While publicly described as an organization to protect Earth from asteroids and solar flares, its true purpose was preparation for extraterrestrial contact. In Washington, D.C., the president called an emergency meeting. "What do we know?" she asked. "The room of generals, scientists, and intelligence officers." "The signal originates from somewhere near Proxima Centauri," said the NASA director. "It's artificial, no doubt about that. The math is too perfect, too deliberate." "Hostile or friendly?" asked General Harris, always focused on threats. "Unknown," replied Lisa, standing at attention. "But the signal contains no weapon signatures we can detect. It appears to be a hello." The president nodded slowly. "Commander Wright, your team has trained for this. Implement Project Handshake." Lisa saluted. "Yes, Madam President." Back in Nevada, Frank worked tirelessly with his team to decode more of the message. After 3 days without sleep, he found something new. "Look here," he said, pointing to a new sequence. "These aren't just numbers. I think they're coordinates. They're coming here." 15 light-years away aboard the scout ship Dagger of Truth, Subcommander Talak reported to the Zeraxian War Council. His gray, scaled face showed on the large display screen before Supreme Warlord Kavax and the other council members. "The natives call their planet Earth," Talak said. "They are bipedal mammals, technologically primitive by our standards. They have basic space travel but are confined to their solar system. No energy weapons detected. Their most advanced weapons use chemical propellants and basic atomic fission. Kovacs leaned forward, his red eyes narrowing. Resources? Abundant, Tilak replied. Water covers most of the planet. Minerals, metals, biological diversity, all excellent. The atmosphere is oxygen-rich. Population? Approximately 9 billion. They appear divided into nation-states, though they have some form of global governance. Kovacs turned to the War Council. Opinions? Admiral Zakor spoke first. A primitive species with a resource-rich planet. Standard procedure would be assimilation as a labor class. General Mivir disagreed. The population is too large for efficient control. Reduction protocols should be implemented first. Kovacs considered this. Have they detected our scout ship? No, Tilak answered. However, they have detected our communication probe. They are attempting to decode its signal. Interesting, Kovacs said. They are more advanced than they appear. Science Minister Durol spoke up. I have analyzed their global information network. These humans have a unique history. They fight constantly among themselves, yet unite when threatened. Their technological advancement is uneven, but accelerating rapidly. They went from basic flight to space travel in less than a century. Kovacs drummed his clawed fingers on the table. A potential problem species then, but still no match for the Zeraxian Empire. The council chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to Kovacs. For 10,000 years, the Zeraxians had conquered world after world. 17 star systems now bowed to them. They called themselves the gods of war, and none had successfully resisted them. Send the first fleet, Kovacs decided. Standard, conquest protocol. If they surrender immediately, minimal population reduction. If they resist, increase to level 3 protocols. Supreme Warlord, Tilak said cautiously. There is one more thing. Their information networks contain countless stories about alien invasions. They have been imagining this scenario for centuries. They may be more prepared psychologically than other species we have encountered. Kovacs laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. Stories do not stop warships, Sub-Commander. Reality will teach them the difference. On Earth, preparations moved quickly. The United Earth Space Force activated its orbital defense platforms, primitive by Zeraxian standards, but the best humanity had. Commander Lisa Wright was given command of the UES Defender, Earth's newest and most advanced spacecraft. Our mission is to establish peaceful contact, Lisa told her crew as they prepared to launch. But we prepare for all possibilities. Dr. Frank Miller joined the mission as Chief Science Officer. His team had made progress decoding the alien message. They call themselves the Zeraxians, he told Lisa as the Defender moved into orbit. From what we can translate, they have a large empire, multiple star systems. Friendly? Lisa asked. Frank hesitated. The language contains many military terms. Conquest, subjugation, domination. I don't think they're coming for a friendly chat, Lisa nodded grimly. That's what I thought too. In homes across Earth, people watched the news with a mixture of excitement and fear. First contact, the moment humanity had speculated about for centuries, was about to happen. Some celebrated in IOD, the streets. Others stockpiled supplies and headed for bunkers. In his Montana cabin, retired Marine Colonel Jack Evans watched the sky through his telescope. He had fought in enough wars to recognize the signs of another one coming. He began cleaning his old rifle, more out of habit than any belief it would help against beings who could cross the stars. Come if you're coming, he muttered to the night sky. We'll be ready. In the darkness of space, the Zeraxian First Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 50 warships led by the dreadnought Inevitable Victory. To them, this was routine, another primitive world to add to the empire. They had no idea that the species they were about to attack had spent centuries imagining this very moment. Humanity had been preparing through science fiction, war games, and military planning. The Zeraxians thought they were facing primitive apes who would cower before superior technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 months had passed since first contact. The UES Defender floated in the darkness of space, waiting. Commander Lisa Wright stood on the bridge, her face lit by the blue glow of the displays. Every person on board knew this might be humanity's most important moment. "Any response to our transmissions?" she asked. Communications Officer Ryan Dobson shook his head. "Nothing, Commander. They're receiving but not answering." Lisa frowned. Dr. Frank Miller floated over to her station. In zero gravity, his wild hair made him look like a mad scientist. "They're studying us," he said quietly. "Learning our language, our weaknesses." "Preparing to attack?" Lisa asked. "I hope not," Frank replied. "But yes, probably." The warning came too late. The radar officer shouted, "Energy spike, multiple sources." A blinding flash of light filled the bridge. The Defender shuddered. Alarms screamed across the ship. "We're hit. Portside engines gone," someone yelled. Lisa grabbed the command console. "Return fire, all batteries." But it was too late. The Zeraxian ships moved with impossible speed. Beams of energy cut through the Defender like paper. Lisa watched in horror as Earth's orbital defense platforms exploded one by one. "Send the message," she ordered Ryan. "Code Red Phoenix." As the bridge exploded around her, Lisa's last thought was of Earth. They needed to prepare. This wasn't first contact. It was invasion. On Earth, people watched in terror as the sky filled with fire. The orbital defense platforms, humanity's best protection, were destroyed in minutes. Then the Zeraxian ships descended. Jack Evans was chopping wood outside his Montana cabin when his old military phone buzzed. He hadn't heard that sound in 15 years. The message was short. "Code Red Phoenix. This is not a drill." Jack dropped the axe and went inside. From under his bed, he pulled out a metal box. Inside was his old uniform and service weapon. His hands remembered the weight of the gun even after all these years. On the television, the president addressed the nation. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. "Citizens of Earth, we are under attack by an alien force. This is not a test. I am ordering full military mobilization. All reserves are activated. Stay in your homes if possible. God be with us, all." Jack knew what he had to do. The nearest military base was 3 hours away. He packed quickly, thinking of his old unit. How many were still alive? How many could still fight? In Washington, D.C., the Pentagon became the center of Earth's defense. General Harris gathered his top officers around a holographic map showing the Zeraxian landing sites. "They're hitting major cities on every continent," he said grimly. "New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Cairo, Tokyo, Sydney, coordinated attacks." "Casualties?" someone asked. "In the millions already," Harris replied. "Their weapons are beyond anything we've faced. Energy beams, sonic weapons, things we don't even understand yet." "What about nuclear options?" asked an Air Force commander. Harris shook his head. "Not yet. They've positioned their ships over population centers. We'd kill more of our people than theirs." In the basement of the Nevada research facility, Dr. Frank Miller had survived. The Zeraxians hadn't bothered with the remote location yet. He and his team worked frantically to understand the enemy. "Look at these scans," he told his assistant, pointing at the screen. "Their ships have energy shields, but they flicker at certain frequencies, and here, their weapons use some kind of plasma technology. I think they're avoiding nuclear weapons themselves. That's interesting." "Why is that interesting?" his assistant asked. "They're killing us." Frank's eyes lit up. "Because it means they might be vulnerable to radiation. Every advanced civilization, we've theorized, would have moved beyond nuclear fission. It's dirty, dangerous, inefficient. What if they've forgotten about it as a weapon?" In New York City, police officer Samantha Carter led a group of survivors through the subway tunnels. Above them, Zeraxian troops patrolled the streets. They were tall, gray-skinned creatures with 4 arms and faces that reminded Samantha of lizards. "Stay quiet," she whispered to the group. "They have better hearing than us." A child started to cry. His mother quickly covered his mouth. Too late. Samantha heard heavy footsteps approaching the subway entrance. "Everyone hide," she ordered, pulling out her service pistol. It seemed tiny compared to the alien weapons, but it was all she had. The Xeraxian soldier that entered the tunnel was over 7 feet tall. It carried a rifle that glowed with blue energy. Samantha held her breath, pressed against the wall in the shadows. The alien's red eyes scanned the darkness. When it turned away from her, Samantha made her decision. She leapt forward, firing, 3 shots into the back of the alien's head. To her surprise, the bullets penetrated. The Xeraxian fell with a heavy thud. The other survivors emerged from hiding, staring in shock at the dead alien. "They can die," Samantha said, kneeling beside the body. "They bleed. That means we can fight them." She began stripping the alien of its weapons and equipment. "Help me. We need to learn how their technology works." On the Xeraxian command ship, Supreme Warlord Kovacs received the early battle reports. The conquest was proceeding as expected, with one surprise. "The humans are still fighting?" he asked, his voice showing rare confusion. "After we destroyed their orbital defenses?" Sub-Commander Tilak nodded nervously. "Yes, Supreme Warlord. They continue to resist in all sectors. Our ground forces report unexpected casualties. From primitives with chemical weapons. Impossible. The humans are adaptable," Tilak said carefully. "They're already attempting to use our own weapons against..." A squad in their New York region was ambushed. 1 warrior was killed, his equipment taken. Kovacs slammed his fist on the command console. "Find the humans responsible. Make an example of them." "There's more," Tilak continued. "Our scientists report that the humans' use of nuclear fission technology is more extensive than we realized. They have weapons." "Primitive atomic bombs," Kovacs interrupted. "Barely worth noticing." "Yes, but our warriors have not faced radiation weapons in 10,000 years. Our current armor has no protection against it." Kovacs fell silent, thinking. After a moment, he said, "Accelerate the landing schedule. I want control of all major population centers within 7 days. Then we will deal with their nuclear capabilities." 6 months into the war, humanity was bloodied but unbroken. The Xeraxians controlled the major cities, but the countryside belonged to human resistance fighters. Colonel Jack Evans, now leading a special forces team, had become a symbol of human resilience. His latest mission had brought him to what remained of the Nevada research facility. Dr. Frank Miller had requested a meeting. "We've figured out how to disable their shields," Frank said, his eyes wild with excitement and lack of sleep. "It's a virus, a computer virus. Their technology is advanced, but their security is designed to stop other advanced species. They never expected a primitive virus." Jack looked at the small device Frank held up. "How do we deliver it?" Frank smiled thinly. "That's why I needed you, Colonel. Someone has to get this to their mothership." Jack took the device. "A suicide mission." "Probably," Frank admitted. "But if it works, we get a clean shot at their command structure." Jack nodded. "I'll need volunteers. Good ones." Neither man spoke. What they both thought, that even with this advantage, humanity's chances were slim. But it was a chance. And humans, as the Xeraxians were learning, would fight with everything they had, down to their last breath. The mountain camp buzzed with activity as Colonel Jack Evans addressed his team. 6 months of fighting had changed him. His face was thinner, his eyes harder. A scar ran from his left eye to his jaw, the result of a close encounter with a Xeraxian. "Played. This is our target," Jack said, pointing to a crude map of a Xeraxian command post. "Intel says Sub-Warlord Durax is inside. He's in charge of the North American occupation." Greg Howard, the team's explosives expert, studied the map. Once a construction worker from Ohio, Greg now used his knowledge of demolition to destroy alien structures. "Those walls look thick," he said. "I'll need to place charges at these points." He marked 3 spots on the map. Amy Peterson, the team's sniper, nodded. Before the invasion, she had been training for the Olympics. Now she used her steady hands and keen eyes to target Xeraxian officers. "I can cover the main entrance from that ridge," she said. but their patrols are heavy in that area. Jack nodded. We move at night. Their night vision isn't as good as ours, it's one advantage we have. The team members checked their weapons. Some carried stolen Xeraxian energy rifles. Others preferred human guns, which the aliens often overlooked in their arrogance. Remember, Jack said before dismissing them, we're not just fighting for ourselves. Every Xeraxian commander we take out buys time for Dr. Miller's plan. In what had once been a shopping mall in Kansas, Dr. Frank Miller worked on his virus. The mall had been converted to a secret lab, hidden from Xeraxian scanners by layers of lead and special materials salvaged from alien craft. How's it coming? Asked his assistant. Frank rubbed his tired eyes. The virus works in simulation. It will shut down their shields for about 3 minutes. Not long, but enough for a targeted strike. And how do we deliver it? Frank pointed to a small device on the table. This needs to be connected directly to their main computer system on the mothership. Once activated, it will spread through their network. That's a suicide mission, his assistant said quietly. Frank nodded. Colonel Evans knows. His team is still willing to try. In New York, Samantha Carter watched the Xeraxian prison camp from a broken window. For months, she had led a resistance cell, gathering information and freeing human prisoners when possible. Today, they planned their biggest operation yet. They keep the prisoners weak, Samantha told her team. Limited food, constant work. But there are thousands of them. If we can arm even a few hundred, we could take the whole camp. The guards have energy shields, said a man beside her. Our bullets just bounce off. Samantha smiled grimly. Not anymore. She held up a modified human rifle. We've adapted. The bullets are now coated with a material that disrupts their shield frequency. Not many, but enough for the first wave. Her team looked at her with respect and fear. Samantha had changed from a police officer who protected the peace to a guerrilla leader who had personally killed dozens of Xeraxians. On the Xeraxian mothership, Supreme Warlord Kavax faced an angry war council. This conquest is taking too long, said Admiral Zukor. A primitive world like this should have fallen in days, not months. Kavax glared at the Admiral. You underestimate these humans. They fight differently than any species we have conquered before. How so? Asked Science Minister Durol, genuinely curious. They do not surrender when defeated, Kavax said. Their cities fall, their leaders die, yet they continue fighting. Their largest armies have been destroyed, but now they fight in small groups, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Sub-Warlord Dirax joined the conversation from his base on Earth. His image flickered on the large screen. The humans adapt quickly, Dirax reported. They are learning to use our own weapons against us. They modify their primitive guns to penetrate our shields. They set traps. They use their knowledge of their planet to hide where our scanners cannot find them. Then find better ways to track them, Admiral Zukor demanded. Use the orbital scanners. We have tried, Dirax said, frustration evident in his voice. They hide underground in structures lined with materials that block our scans. They move at night. They use their planet's weather against us. Kavax tapped his claws on the command table. What do you suggest, Dirax? Allow me to use cleansing protocols, Dirax said. Targeted strikes to eliminate large population centers. Fear will force the survivors to surrender. Kavax considered this. The cleansing protocols would destroy much of Earth's infrastructure and resources, but might end the costly war. No, he decided finally. We came for this planet's resources. Cleansing would render large areas unusable. Increase the ground forces instead. Hunt down their resistance leaders. After the meeting, Science Minister Durol approached Kavax privately. Supreme Warlord, I have been studying human history, Durol said. I believe I understand why they are such difficult opponents. Explain, Kavax ordered. The humans have been fighting each other for their entire history, Durol said. They are used to war. But more importantly, they have a concept they call freedom that they value above life itself. Many would rather die than be enslaved. Kavax laughed harshly. All species want to be free. Not like humans, Durol insisted. Most species we conquered accepted their place once defeated. Humans never accept defeat. It is not in their nature. Kovacs dismissed the science minister's concerns. Nature can be broken, minister. Every creature learns its place eventually. That night, Jack Evans and his team approached the Xeraxian command post. They moved silently through the forest, their faces blackened with mud to hide their heat signatures. Greg placed his charges at the base of the wall, while Amy found her sniping position on a nearby hill. Jack and two others waited in the shadows for the signal. When the explosions ripped through the night, the Xeraxian guards rushed toward the breach in the wall. Amy's rifle cracked 3 times, and 3 guards fell. Jack led his team through the smoke and confusion. Inside, they fought room by room. Xeraxian energy weapons left scorch marks on the walls. Human bullets found gaps in alien armor. It was close, brutal fighting. Jack found Sub-Warlord Dirax in the command center. The Xeraxian was larger than the others, his gray skin marked with red stripes of rank. Drax fired his weapon, missing Jack by inches. The energy beam melted the metal door behind him. Jack rolled to the side and fired his modified rifle. The bullet passed through Dirax's shield and struck his arm. The Xeraxian roared in pain and surprise. "Impossible!" Dirax shouted. "Primitive weapons cannot penetrate our shields." Jack smiled grimly. "We adapted." He fired again and Dirax fell. As alarms blared throughout the compound, Jack quickly downloaded data from the Xeraxian computers using a device Dr. Miller had given him. Then he ordered retreat. The team fled into the night as Xeraxian reinforcements arrived. They had struck a blow against the aliens, but the war was far from over. Back at their hidden base, Jack transmitted the stolen data to Dr. Miller. It contained information about the mothership's defenses, patrol schedules, and most importantly, access codes. "This is it," Jack told his team. "With this information, we can get aboard the mothership. One chance to upload the virus and give Earth a fighting chance." Amy cleaned her rifle as she asked, "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," Jack said. "Rest today. We're going to space." Around the world, similar resistance groups were preparing their own attacks. In a coordinated plan they called Operation Thunderbolt, humans would rise up against their invaders all at once. It was humanity's best hope, perhaps their last hope. On the mothership, Kovacs felt something he had not experienced in centuries: doubt. These humans were unlike any enemy the Xeraxians had faced before. Perhaps, he thought briefly, we have finally met our match. He quickly dismissed the thought. No primitive species could defeat the gods of war. It was unthinkable. Dawn broke over what remained of Chicago. The morning light revealed broken buildings and empty streets. A lone Xeraxian patrol moved through the ruins, their scaled forms alert for any sign of humans. They did not see Samantha Carter watching. From a hidden bunker beneath a collapsed store, she had traveled from New York with 20 of her best fighters. Today was the day. Operation Thunderbolt would begin in exactly 1 hour. "Are the other teams in position?" she asked her radio operator. "Yes, Sydney, London, Beijing, Moscow, all reporting ready." Samantha checked her weapons one last time. 6 months of fighting had taught humans many lessons about Xeraxian technology. Her rifle now had special bullets that could penetrate their shields. Around her neck hung a device that masked her heat signature. "Remember," she told her team, "when the prison camp gates open, we'll have 3 minutes to arm as many prisoners as possible. Then we take the command center." In orbit above Earth, Colonel Jack Evans and his team approached the Xeraxian mothership in a stolen shuttle. Greg Howard piloted the craft while Amy Peterson watched the scanners. "Their patrol ships are moving away," Amy reported. "The access codes are working." Jack nodded, his face grim. In his pocket was Dr. Miller's virus device. In his mind was a map of the mothership based on stolen data. Their mission was simple but nearly impossible: reach the main computer core, upload the virus, and somehow escape before the entire Xeraxian fleet turned on them. "Docking in 30 seconds, Greg announced. The shuttle connected to the mothership with a soft thud. Jack turned to his team. "Whatever happens today, remember why we're here. Not just for Earth, but for everyone these monsters have conquered." The team moved into the mothership, using stolen Xeraxian armor to disguise themselves. The ship was enormous, with high ceilings and wide corridors built for the tall aliens. "This way," Jack whispered, following the memorized path to the central core. They passed Xeraxian crew members who barely glanced at them. The disguises worked, at least for now, but as they neared the computer core, an alarm suddenly blared. Throughout the ship. "We've been detected," Amy said. "Run," Jack ordered. They sprinted toward the core, no longer hiding. Xeraxian guards appeared ahead, raising their weapons. Amy fired first, her shots finding gaps in their armor. Greg threw a grenade that sent the aliens diving for cover. The team fought their way to a massive door marked with alien symbols. "This is it," Jack said. "The computer core. Greg, get it open." Greg attached a small device to the door's control panel. Seconds later, the door slid open. Inside was a chamber filled with glowing panels and cables. At the center stood a crystal column pulsing with light. "Cover the door," Jack ordered as he approached the crystal. "I need 2 minutes to upload the virus." Before he could reach the central column, a side door opened. Supreme Warlord Kavax entered, flanked by elite guards. He was taller than the other Xeraxians, his scales darker, his eyes burning red with anger. "Humans," Kavax growled. "You dare to invade my ship?" Jack's team opened fire, but the guards' shields were stronger than any they had encountered before. Their bullets bounced away harmlessly. "Keep firing," Jack shouted as he ran toward the crystal column. He had to reach it. Everything depended on uploading the virus. A guard fired, the energy beam hitting Jack in the leg. He fell but continued, crawling toward the column. Amy provided covering fire, her special bullets finally penetrating one guard's shield. The alien fell with a screech. "Impossible," Kavax shouted. "No primitive weapon can harm my elite guard." Greg laughed as he fired again. "We're not as primitive as you think." On Earth, Operation Thunderbolt began exactly on time. In prison camps and occupied cities across the globe, humans rose up against their captors. In New York, Samantha Carter led her team into the largest camp, freeing thousands of prisoners and arming them with hidden weapons. "For Earth," Samantha shouted as they stormed the Xeraxian command center. The aliens fought back fiercely, but they were surprised by the coordination of the human attack. In every major city, at the exact same moment, the resistance struck. It was a level of global cooperation unlike anything in human history. Dr. Frank Miller watched from his underground lab as reports came in. The uprising was working, but everything depended on Jack's team. Without the virus to disable the Xeraxian shields, the mothership would simply destroy Earth from orbit once Kavax realized he was losing ground control. "Come on, Jack," Frank whispered to himself. "You can do it." On the mothership, Jack reached the crystal column despite his wounded leg. Blood trailed behind him on the floor. The device from Dr. Miller was in his hand, ready to be connected. Kavax saw what he was doing and moved with surprising speed for his size. He grabbed Jack by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "You really thought you could defeat us?" Kavax growled. "We are the gods of war. We have conquered 17 star systems. Your primitive planet is nothing." Jack struggled to breathe as Kavax squeezed his throat. Behind them, the rest of Jack's team was pinned down by guard fire. This was the end, Jack thought. They had failed. Then an unexpected sound filled the chamber. Alarms, different from before. The ship shuddered. "Supreme Warlord," a voice called over the ship's communication system. "The humans have launched nuclear weapons at our fleet." Kavax turned in surprise, his grip on Jack loosening slightly. It was enough. Jack brought up Dr. Miller's device and slammed it into the crystal column. It connected with a click and began to glow. "No!" Kavax shouted, throwing Jack aside, but it was too late. The virus was uploading. Across the mothership, systems began to flicker. The shields protecting the Xeraxian fleet started to fail, in orbit. Around Earth, human nuclear missiles that had been launched as part of Operation Thunderbolt were approaching the alien fleet. Without shields, the Xeraxian ships were suddenly vulnerable. Kavax watched in horror on the display screens as the first nuclear explosion engulfed one of his warships. Then another, and another. The mighty fleet that had conquered 17 Star Systems was being torn apart by what they had considered primitive weapons. How? Kavax demanded, turning to Jack, who lay bleeding on the floor. How did you know our shields couldn't withstand nuclear radiation? Jack smiled through his pain. We noticed you never used nuclear weapons against us. We figured there must be a reason. Outside the computer core, the fighting had paused as both humans and Zeraxians watched the destruction of the fleet on display screens. The elite guards looked to Kavax for orders, their confidence shaken for the first time. Jack's team seized the moment. Greg launched himself at the nearest guard while Amy fired at another. The chamber erupted in chaos once more. Jack pulled himself up against the crystal column. The virus had done its job. Now they needed to escape, to get back to Earth and join, the final push to drive the invaders away. But first they had to deal with Supreme Warlord Kavax, who was now approaching Jack with murder in his eyes. Your victory will be short-lived, human, Kavax growled. I will destroy your entire planet. For this, Jack braced himself for the final confrontation, knowing that the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Supreme Warlord Kavax lunged at Jack, his clawed hand swiping through the air. Despite his injured leg, Jack rolled aside, the alien's claws missing him by inches. The mothership shuddered as another explosion rocked the Zeraxian fleet outside. Your entire race will pay for this, Kavax roared. Jack pulled himself behind a console, breathing hard. His team was still fighting the elite guards near the entrance. He was on his own against the Zeraxian leader. You've lost, Kavax, Jack called out. Your fleet is being destroyed. Your ground forces are under attack all over Earth. Kavax laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. I have conquered 17 worlds, human. This is merely a setback. The alien stalked forward, his red eyes glowing with hatred. Jack looked around desperately for a weapon. His rifle lay several feet away, dropped when Kavax had grabbed him. As Kavax approached, Jack noticed something on the console next to him. A Zeraxian control panel with symbols he recognized from the stolen data. It controlled the ship's internal security systems. Jack hit several buttons in quick succession. Suddenly, metal barriers dropped from the ceiling, separating Kavax from Jack. The Zeraxian leader roared in frustration, slamming his fists against the barrier. Greg, Amy, Jack called to his teammates. Time to go. Amy fired a final shot at an elite guard, then ran to help Jack. Greg threw his last grenade to cover their retreat. Together, they limped toward the exit. The virus? Amy asked. Jack nodded. Uploaded. Earth has its chance now. As they reached the corridor outside, they heard a terrible sound of tearing metal. Kavax was breaking through the barrier. Run, Jack ordered. They sprinted through the corridors of the mothership, alarms blaring around them. Zeraxian crew members were in chaos, some running to battle stations, others evacuating as systems failed across the ship. The team reached their stolen shuttle just as the mothership began to list to one side. Greg jumped into the pilot's seat and started the engines. Hang on, he shouted as he detached from the docking port. The shuttle shot away from the mothership, just as several more nuclear explosions lit up the space around them. The Zeraxian fleet was in disarray, their ships vulnerable without shields. Head for Earth, Jack ordered. We need to join the ground fight. On Earth, Operation Thunderbolt had taken the Zeraxians completely by surprise. In New York, Samantha, Carter led thousands of freed prisoners as they overwhelmed the alien guards. Similar scenes played out in cities worldwide. When the Zeraxian shields failed, the tide turned decisively. Human weapons that had been mostly useless against the aliens suddenly became effective. The invaders found themselves outnumbered and increasingly outgunned. Dr. Frank Miller watched the data feeds from his underground lab. The virus had worked even better than expected. Not only had it disabled the shields, but it was spreading through all Zeraxian systems, corrupting their targeting computers and communication networks. This is Dr. Miller to all resistance units, he broadcast. The mothership shields are down. Repeat, all Zeraxian shields are vulnerable. Attack now. In the command center of the New York occupation zone, Samantha Carter received the message. Her forces had already captured the main building, but alien reinforcements were arriving. All units, she ordered, target their power generators. Their weapons will fail without power. The human fighters, a mix of former soldiers and civilians who had learned to fight during the occupation, rushed forward with renewed energy. Their bullets now penetrated the Zeraxian armor that had once seemed impervious. Jack's shuttle made a rough landing outside what had once been Chicago. The city was a battleground with humans and Zeraxians fighting street by street. Jack and his team joined the fight despite their injuries. "Push them back," Jack shouted to a group of resistance fighters. "Their shields are down. Their fleet is crippled." The news spread like wildfire among the human forces. After months of fighting a seemingly hopeless battle, they now had a real chance at victory. The invaders were on the run. On the damaged mothership, Supreme Warlord Kavax watched in disbelief as his forces retreated across Earth. Screen after screen showed Zeraxian units being overwhelmed by human attackers. "Impossible," he whispered. "They are primitives. We are the gods of war." An officer approached, his posture showing fear. "Supreme Warlord, we have lost contact with 60% of our ground forces. The humans have captured our main bases in what they call North America and Asia. And our fleet?" The officer hesitated. 70% destroyed or disabled, Supreme Warlord. The human nuclear weapons." He didn't finish the sentence. Kavax stared at the tactical display. For the first time in his long life, he faced defeat. The humans, a species he had dismissed as primitive and weak, had broken the mighty Zeraxian empire. "Order all remaining ships to form a defensive perimeter," Kavax commanded. "Prepare for immediate departure from this system." "You're ordering a retreat, Supreme Warlord?" the officer asked in shock. Kavax struck the officer, sending him sprawling. "It is a strategic withdrawal. We will return with a larger force." But in his heart, Kavax knew the truth. The Zeraxian Empire had met its match. 3 days later, the remaining Zeraxian ships fled Earth's solar system. On the ground, the alien forces surrendered or were captured. The invasion that was meant to add another world to the Empire had ended in defeat. In Washington, D.C., now half in ruins, military and civilian leaders gathered to assess the situation. Jack Evans, his leg bandaged but healing, sat at the table, with Samantha Carter, Dr. Frank Miller, and others who had led the resistance. "The Zeraxians are gone," General Harris announced. "At least for now. But they'll be back. We'll be ready," Jack replied. "We know their weaknesses now, and we have their technology." Dr. Miller nodded. "I've been studying the equipment we captured. They're faster than light drives. They're energy weapons. We can adapt these for our own use." "How long until they return?" someone asked. "Based on their FTL capabilities, at least 3 years," Miller answered. "Maybe longer if they need to build a new fleet." "Then we have 3 years to prepare," Samantha said. "We need to build our own ships, our own defenses." Jack looked around the table at the faces of those who had fought and sacrificed to save Earth. "We won't just defend next time. We'll take the fight to them." 5 years passed. Earth had changed dramatically. Using reverse-engineered Zeraxian technology, humans had built their own fleet of spacecraft. The first colonies on Mars and the Moon were thriving. A global defense system had been established. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Earth's first faster-than-light warship, Captain Jack Evans looked out at the stars. Beside him stood Dr. Frank Miller, now the head of Earth's Science Division, and Commander Samantha Carter, his executive officer. "Course is set, Captain," Samantha reported. "The Proxima Centauri colony is ready for our arrival." Jack nodded. "Take us out, Commander. Full speed." As the Defiance leapt into FTL, Jack thought about how far humanity had come, from a species fighting for survival to one reaching for the stars. On distant worlds across the galaxy, news had spread about the defeat of the Zeraxian Empire at the hands of a previously unknown species that had lived in fear of the gods of war for millennia now whispered a new name in hope: human. Even the gods of war now whispered humanity's name in fear.